The anime starts with a narration saying that everything has a spirit and those who can call such spirits are called summoners, and since ancient times they have a place among the legends that say that they can summon the earth, the spirits, the souls, a mason to do work on their house for free. No, that's a lie, and even the stars. But legends are legends, and there would come a time when they would be forgotten by everyone. Meanwhile, the anime shows a girl wrapped in a ball and the people find out it's the opening of the anime. What an incredible opening. I'm dancing madly here. The scene cuts showing the day-to-day of a boy called Ah Jie, the protagonist of the story. He narrates his life and routine. He is 16 years old, he's single, and lives an ordinary high school life without ambitions. He says that in the future he'll open a CD store or something. He says that since he was a little boy he learned to manage, and if there's one thing he's good at, it's cooking, and says that his father said that in the future he would become the king of laymen. The anime shows him making a layman, and out of nowhere the screen flashes showing a woman with pink hair, subliminal message style. He ends his layman saying that it was perfect and the best that he already did. Out of nowhere a ball of energy opens in his kitchen and that woman with pink hair comes out of. He in fright lets his bowl of layman fall, but the woman turns into a chibi version of herself and takes the bowl. Then she eats it and says she hasn't eaten something this good in ages, but is thrown out by Ah Jie. He wonders if he was hallucinating, and then he sees her in the pot eating more mush and he throws her out again. She goes through the wall and says he didn't eat enough, going to his fridge and sucking up all the food like a vacuum cleaner. He even flushes it, but he can't get her to go away, so he pours her some tea and says he had 3 questions. I would have 50 in the minimal, but let's go there. He asks who she was, why she was there, and how he could get rid of her. Here are the 3 questions. She explains that it is an invoked spirit and it is from a very old era, being 3 million years old. She says that he saw her in her complete form, but being like that takes a lot of energy, so she's in energy saving mode. She says that since ancient times people summoned spirits using food and she didn't come there for nothing. She was summoned by him while he moaned and told him to take responsibility for it. But he just left the house saying he was going to school and left her there. He pedaled as fast as possible hoping that when he got back she wouldn't be there, but no, she did follows, and he tries to run away, but she's faster. She says she's a god and could grant any of his wishes and invites him to join her, but he just takes her head and throws it away. He arrives at school, but of course she doesn't give up, that she keeps bothering him the whole class. She asks to form a contract with him, but he was so bothered that he freaks out and tells her to be quiet, but he speaks loudly and the teacher thinks he was talking about him. There he confirms that no one he could see her besides him, and later, after leaving the class, he was still irritated with Dora, which is her name, and wondered if he had lost her. A girl comes to confess to him, but he saw that Dora was still nearby. He throws his backpack on the floor in anger and tells her to go away, and the girl thinks he was talking to her, so he leaves crying. The scene cuts with him bringing her several foods and saying that he summoned her with food and would do to leave with even more food. He asks her to leave and she gets up saying that the spirits that don't sign contracts with their master end up wandering the world for centuries until they disappear. But she says it's okay since he doesn't. He wanted, but she says that as a last request she wanted him to let her accompany him in his day-to-day walk, the streets he walks, see the people he sees, and says that he would keep those moments in his heart during his time of life. The scene cuts with them walking and Dora says that this world has many secrets and she wanted him to see the world as she sees it. So she holds his hand and he starts to see people's auras. She asks him why he thinks that some people have a scent that calms others, while showing a girl asks why pigeons can sense gentle people, while showing a gentleman why do drops of water remain suspended in the air by those who like it, while showing a little girl. Then she says that everyone has the gift for summoning, but most never really understood this world, saying that they live in ignorance while few can become masters of this power. They are known as summoners and have unimaginable powers that can destroy the world, and while saying that guide Ah Jie's hand, making a giant spiritual hand come out and uproot a tree, or they can save the world, and while saying that put the tree on the ground carefully, making a kitten that was trapped upstairs leave safely. She says that regardless of the path he chooses he would discover his true self on the journey and invites him to become a summoner. By touching her hand a contract between them is formed, but something unexpected happens. She says that she said all this to deceive him and make a contract with him against his will. It was a great prank. She says that now there is no going back and he just accepts it. She says that he has a gift for that and takes flight with him, who starts to enjoy the breeze hitting his face. However, she almost crashes into a building and says that the form of flight spends a lot of energy and he was hungry again. The scene cuts with them at home hurt from the flight, saying it was lucky they were still alive. Dora makes him summon a firefly of light that heals them slowly, and after asking what this summoner business was she tries to think of a way to explain it to him in a few words, or in a way that wouldn't take 3 days, and while thinking a battle scene appears with several mystical beings beings fighting. Honestly, I don't know if that was her memories or what. I just know that she appears chained in a mysterious place and screams in despair. And then the scene goes back to Ah Jie's room, showing that she was still there, and she starts sleeping out of nowhere, leaving him not understanding what had happened. The episode ends with him covering her and laying down to sleep. On top of his house was a mysterious woman flying on top of something. That something is a carnivorous plant that devours her, and Ah Jie doesn't see anything because he had his headphones on, ignoring her. He takes a bottle on her head, and when he looks back he sees the situation. This plant starts to run away, and Ah Jie goes behind. He asks why she doesn't free herself from there since she's very strong, but she says that when the spirits are far from the summoners they can't do anything. He almost reaches the plant that throws some leaves in his eye, blocking his vision and making him face the wall. He continues his search, but sees that the plant entered a school festival that was happening at his school, so it was difficult for him to find it in the crowd. Out of nowhere, a big guy who fights karate appears there, angry that he rejected his sister and made her sad like that. His sister breaks several bricks with one blow, leaving everyone impressed, and her brother tells Ah Jie to accept her love. The two become a couple, but he was worried about Dora. Just walks away. While looking for her, he notices that her voice was getting lower, and she reveals that the further away the weaker the connection between them becomes. He stops to listen to a boy who said he knew that he wasn't a normal guy, but he was just a crazy student wanting to invite him to a club or something. In the background he sees that plant walking, and when he jumps to pick it up he is surprised to discover that it wasn't the plant but a girl dressed up for the festival. While Dora was talking to him, he starts listening to background music and says he knows where this music comes from. He arrives at a show, and on top of a tree a woman is watching him. Turning around and looking at him, he doesn't see anyone. He couldn't find Dora, so he teases her, saying that he wanted to get rid of her before, but he couldn't, and now that she disappeared he was finally going to make it. Hearing that, Dora gets very angry and manages to get out of the house by herself, plant punching her. Then, the plant runs away, and that girl who is the plant's master appears there, mysterious, but leaves without saying anything. Dora gets very angry, but Ah Jie says that they couldn't do anything against the summoner now. Dora asks how he knew she was the summoner, and he gives an explanation saying that the spirits cannot stay away from the master. Soon his master was close by, and as the spirit was just walking in circles he imagined that the summoner was in the middle. Besides that, he said that her earring had the symbol of a powerful aristocratic family that even controls his school, so they couldn't do anything against her now, and he still says that even far from the summoner her spirit had a lot of power, showing that she is very strong. She says that he is a great detective, but he says that he was making fun of her and he just saw the summoner leaving where she was. The scene cuts with the girl in the principal's office. He says that she faltered and the spirit plant apologized, saying that they underestimated the enemy and he, in this case, the plant, was afraid that things would get out of control in the middle of that crowd, but the director tells them not to be afraid because if they got out of control he would be there to help. He tells them to do whatever needs to be done because he wanted to see the full potential of Dora and Ah Jie, and ends by saying that he was looking forward to more surprises from Ah Jie. The scene cuts with this girl passing in the school hallway and all the boys crazy about her. The scene cuts with him in class saying he was very tired, and then she appears in his class and gives him a letter and stares at him with sharp eyes. The boys in the class take the letter and they see that she wanted to meet him in the forest. They, thinking it was a declaration of love from the girl, decide to simply follow Ah Jie to the forest, but are prevented from continuing to bother him because some spiritual vines appear and block their path. Then he sees that he couldn't get through because of the trees, but the girl opens the way for him by knocking down the trees or making them change position so he can pass. Well, I don't know. I just know that when they get there the two pairs meet, and of course, obviously it would be bullshit because the spirit of the girl, that is that strange plant, tells Ah Jie to hand over Dora to them, but he refuses. Soon a battle ensues where the plant turns into a whip and Dale whip the Ah Jie, who narrowly deviates while begging Dora to help him, but she says she was trying to look for her weapons, but she just found stuff. He was holding the girl well, but wanting to end it she summons a gigantic tree that goes after Dora, and when she was going to do it she turns pure. Ah Jie tries to save her but ends up turning pure too. Or is it? Of course not. Dora finally finds her cleavers and the two leave, cutting the tree's hand. The plant is surprised by the knife and she says she finally found her super strong and ancient knife. The tree then tries to punch them, but they, using that big spiritual hand from before, hit back the punch, then use their spiritual wings to fly away while dodging the tree's attacks, and Ah Jie slices it whole. He ends the fight by dashing with the blades and drilling the tree. After the fight, Dora celebrates and then notices that the girl was full of gaps and takes the opportunity to attack her. But Ah Jie defends her by holding back Dora's attack, and the reason is simple. He didn't want to be an ass, and says that clearly she was holding back this whole time, and when Dora turns around she understands why he said that. 50 Brazil would about to beat them both to death. That plant then tells Ah Jie that he passed the test, but not Dora. but she tries to make a fool of herself by inviting everyone to dinner at Ah Jie's house and they deny it. But the girl's stomach starts rumbling. And then the scene cuts to everyone having a feast at Ah Jie's house and Dora having a blast with the plant. These two together eat more than 10 bricklayers after a day of work under the hot sun. While eating they talk and say that Plant says fighting is the best way to meet someone and apologizes for earlier saying they had no choice. She explains that there are invokers of good and evil, so it's common for them to leave in the fight when they see each other. He also says that in the case of spirits there are the spirits of good called guardians and the spirits of evil, and he says that he and the girl are the guardians of this city. He ends by explaining that the two passed the test and now you can join them. Then the girl goes outside and Ah Jie will talk to her. She says that her name is Hannah and that she understood how he works but not his guardian spirit. Then she says that she would take care of him and would watch him 24 hours while giving him a black flower, which according to Ah Jie, means you are a demon and belong to me. The scene cuts showing a place in flame. A man appears apparently injured and his sister asked him to return. However, this mysterious man turns into crows and flies away. Then this girl wakes up and realizes that it was a dream. She, who was surrounded by cats, simply jumps off the building and a cat goes with, remembering that Ah Jie knows this cat. Then the scene cuts showing his school being attacked by animals. That's right, animals start to invade his school, and the scene cuts showing that girl telling the monkeys to attack, showing that she, besides controlling the animal, was responsible for the attack at school. He and Dora run away from the place, and when they arrive on the street they see that the animals have taken over more than just the school, a part of the city too. He sees on the big screen of the TV a news that said that all the animals of the zoo of the city fled, and seeing the girl responsible for everything near several animals, Ah Jie saves her thinking he was in danger, but strangely the girl says his name as if she already knew him. Then Hannah and her plant arrive there and they see the situation. They confront the cat girl wanting to know why she is doing this, and she reveals that it is because the animals lived in the forest and the humans invaded their space building city. Now she wanted to take what was theirs, but of course that Hannah wasn't going to let that happen, and a fight between the two starts. While you see this fight, I must praise the quality of animation that is very fluid despite the simple trait of the anime. During the battle we see that this hot girl succeeds use skills similar to those of animals, for example leopard speed, where using this skill she gets so fast that even Hannah can't keep up, right, and also the strength of a bear as she calls, which as the name said, makes her strong as a bear, to the point where she can lift the concrete off the road to throw it at Hannah. If it was in Brazil they would only fix the concrete 10 years later. I can't even judge her because Hannah's tree does the same. The two fight madly, but realizing that the fight was already going too far, Ah Jie together with Dora invokes spiritual currents to stop the two. He says that he had no reason to continue this useless fight and picks up the kitten on the ground, saying that he had already found the summoner. Then the cat girl says that she knew he would notice, and the anime shows her going back inside the cat, showing that it was just the spirit. Surprised, the plant asks if the cat was the summoner and he replies that yes. He says that they only think about fight when they see each other and end up not seeing the obvious, and tells the cat to stay still while he takes care of her wound. She, watching him take care of her, says it's like the first time they saw each other, where he was coming back from school and found her injured. He then took care of her and decided to call her Meow Wu because of her meow. The scene cuts with Dora saying that now that Ah Jie has subjugated the summoner, the situation has been resolved and they could withdraw from there. However, the plant says that they would only leave when they gave Meow Wu to. The story continues with the plant not accepting the situation and Dora wielding her weapon. However, Hannah tells her to back off and tells Ah Jie that he chose the wrong friend, and the wrong enemy too. The scene cuts with them at home and he's saying that he had no idea that animals could also be summoners, but she says yes, and that even small animals can be. She says that she has met several animal summoners in the past, but none of the Dlees was an animal summoner as cool as yours brother. She explains that after he left she followed his tracks and ended up in this town, but as she was hurt she lost her powers as a summoner for a while, and it was at that time that Ah Jie saved her and started taking care of her. He asks why that she did that earlier to release the animals, and she says it was to get her brother's attention, who, according to her, was avoiding. The scene cuts showing that her brother was watching her from afar. The scene cuts to the next day, where suddenly the doorbell rings, and when answering, Ah Jie sees an army of strange men who warn him about Hannah having invited them to dinner at her house, and he tries to close the door saying that they were busy, but these strange men lead them to helicopter force there. Getting there, Hannah receives them, and soon Dora and Meow will start to fight with the plant, but she says that they were just going to have dinner and not fight. While they were walking they see several spirits that had functions as a gardener, chef, and everything, and Ah Jie imagines how many summoners there were in that house, but the plant replies that there was only one. As soon as they enter the house, the anime shows that Miaowu's brother was watching everyone in the shape of a crow, and as they pass through the hall of the mansion they see a giant statue that they say is the first leader of the Guardians. As they climb the stairs, Ah Jie hears a voice calling him and sees himself in a field. Far away he sees a woman waving to him, but soon he returns reality thanks to Dora, who wakes him up. She asks what happened and he says that nothing happened. Entering the room of the master of the house, we see that it is that vein from before that presents itself. His name is Harlan, and that plant explains that he is the leader of the Black Rose family and is a renowned businessman. He uses his aura to make everyone sit down, and Ah Jie says that he has an incredible aura. He apologizes for inviting them from so far away but says that he had to very familiar with them. He tells a story and begins by saying that everything has a spirit, and that the legend says that the source of all spirits is a single crystal, and says that for a long time human summoners fought wars for him that lasted centuries, and since ancient times summoners have been divided into two groups. One side passes their power to nature and fights to protect the world. They are called guardians, while the other side just want to gain more power at any cost and are called destroyers. He asks which side Ah Jie would take, but he replies that his parents taught him not to mess with that kind of thing and live in peace. However, Harlan reveals that he knows that his parents abandoned him when he was 5 and he started to jump from temporary family to temporary family until he's old enough to live alone. Says he knows he has a picture of his family in his wallet and dyed his hair to hide that he's blonde. Dora thinks it's a lie, but when she takes Ah Jie's wallet she notices that it is true. Then he says he knows that Miaowu is after his brother and reveals that he is a criminal wanted worldwide and is a destroyer. Hannah and the plant tell him to stop for now because it was too much information for them, and basically Harlan invites them to stay there for a few days so they would have plenty of time to talk and clear up their doubts. He orders dinner to be brought, but they don't even have time to eat because they are attacked by the enemy, the destroyers, who are the summoners' evil. Harlan says he imagined they were hiding since their last battle, and while attacking he says he wouldn't let them go this time. The beating starts loose and Harlan seems to be taking advantage. However, he warns everyone that the place was no longer safe and tells Hannah to promise that she would keep Ah Jie safe. They run away but see that the garden of the mansion was all destroyed, and a destroyer appears there eliminating all the spirits that took care of the garden. Hannah calls her spirit and the two begin to fight against her. In that, Miaowu sees her brother there and goes there with a smile on her face asking if it was him. However, he does not say anything and just uses his power, piercing her in the head. She asks why he did that and returns to his cat form, falling to the ground while Ah Jie is worried about. And that was part 1 of the last summoner summary. Now that the story is starting to get really interesting, so if you want a part 2, comment a lot and don't forget to like the video. The more engagement, the greater the chance of me bring a part 2.